Okay, everyone, welcome to the fifth part of this series. What we're going to be doing in this part is we're going to be doing the texture baking for the item we made in the previous part. So I'm going to show you how to do the transfer of low poly details to high poly details in Substance Painter. A process that you can also do in Blender, mind you, is just that Substance Painter offers a more streamlined and dedicated workflow for that. So I'm going to come to File, New. Then I am going to, this I recommend for IMVU, this one for Second Life. This leave as OpenGL for Second Life. Then I am going to come to Select. All right, so we're going to use the OBJ that was exported from Marvelous Designer, the LP, the low poly OBJ that was selected from Marvelous Designer. You can look at their sizes here to help you decipher which one has the higher polys and which not. So I'm going to use this one and I'm going to click OK. Then the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my environment so that it's a lot brighter and more balanced. So this is my shader actually. I want this shader, this metal test shader. Then I want to change this from the default panorama. I have another panorama. I can't remember where I got it from, but generally you want something that has two like balanced lighting, all right? Or lighting that looks good in your eye. You are the creator after all. Then once you have done that and you've done your environment setup and your shader setup, the next thing that you're going to need is you're going to bake mesh maps. All right, so I will let's see. Okay, so in case maybe you adjusted the materials, right? We did adjust our materials, but we basically only renamed. We just need one material anyway. So I am going to click here in this page button that has high definition meshes, and so that I get to select the high definition meshes I want. So that's the high poly mesh, and that is this one, the HP. And then I'm going to leave all of these checked, especially this one. If you're not going to bake anything, bake this one. Then I'm going to click bake selected textures. And then I am going to return to painting mode. And now you can see my low poly mesh has a lot of extra detail on it. And yeah, we're basically done. So what I just do is I either use a material. So let's search for fabric. We can use, let's just use this cotton one, right? So we can use this. Let's delete this. Then we can change the color as we wish, so we can make it a deeper red. Then also it's very easy this way to do multiple colors and whatnot. So yeah, so either use a material from here, or you just create a fill layer. And let's hide this. Let's create a fill layer and then play with these settings as you wish. You can increase the roughness, and it's already looking like actual cloth. So that's another option you can do. And so people do like some excessive things, like they use like the curvature or so to add contrast. I mean, you can go ahead and do that. Anything that you feel you could do to add more detail, because it's all about the details really. So anything you feel you can do to add more detail to your clothing item, maybe you could draw normals here. You could watch dedicated Substance Painter tutorials on how to really use the software to your advantage. But in my case, all I need for this particular dress is I just want a basic material, and then I also just want a basic transfer of normals to this dress. All right, so I'm not even going to use this more detailed fabric. I don't think I want to even use this detailed fabric. But for display sake, let's use a more detailed fabric. All right, so we have our fabric, and if you plan on doing extra colors, you can go ahead and do those later on as you export the textures one by one. So we've baked the normals, right? So you can see our extra detail has been added. We've baked the normals and everything. We've baked the normals, we've added our texture. Now it's just time for exporting the textures. It's so quick using Substance Painter. So I am going to actually come to File and Export Textures. Now, the default, hold on, let me change the folder. So now the default template that's going to be exported isn't most likely what you want, all right? So you want to generally have a custom template. So how do we make a custom template? We're going to come to this tab, and then we're going to click the plus sign. I'm just going to call this one How do I rename it again? Well, let's start by adding things. So what we want first is to get like our diffuse. Our diffuse is going to be the base color with the shading and everything. Basically, hold on, let me drag this down. This is what we generally want to use as our diffuse. You can use the plain color or the plain pattern as the diffuse, and even Second Life can make that look good for you. But generally speaking, you'd want to use this, like the way this looks, as your diffuse, as your base color. So we're going to look for, is it 2D view? Where is 2D view? Yeah, so 2D view, base color. Hold on. All right. Okay. So we want the RGB. We just want the RGB. We don't want the A. So if you need transparency for Second Life, what you need is RGB plus A, because the transparency works directly on the material, and not that you need like an opacity map. Okay, so if the texture is transparent in some parts, the texture is also going to be transparent in some parts. So what we want here is our 2D view, and yes, we want the RGB channels. Now we're going to call this dollar mesh underscore dollar texture set is its way of saying material, so underscore texture set, and we're going to call this base. All right, so we're going to do another RGB, because we need at least 3 textures. Our normal, our gloss, right? It's actually called gloss and not specular, the way it works in Second Life. And then our base color. So we have our base color. Let's do our normal. So that is our normal. From normal, the RGB channels. You can just copy this and then paste. We're going to call it normal. I really don't know if I can. Yeah, okay, I can rename this. So I'm going to. As you can see, I already have one called Second Life, but since I'm recreating it for you, I'm just going to call this one SL tutorial. 8 bits is fine. You don't want images that are too heavy so that your product doesn't lag. Then we want another one for the specular, but call it gloss. Just call it gloss for now. Or you can call it specular. Really, it's your decision. And for this one, are we using? Yeah, it's a gloss. It works as it's a gloss. It's a gloss map. So why am I calling it a gloss map? Okay, yeah, fine. Go ahead. It's a gray map anyway. What's the glossiness with asterisk again? I can't remember what that thing is. Hold on. Let me undo that one. Can I undo it? Or let me use this one. I think it's this one I'm meant to use. Input maps. Okay, these are input maps. No, I don't think it's these ones I want. Let me use this one. So why do I call this one gloss, even though it's called specular in the game? I call it gloss because it works as the inverse of roughness. So the wider the map, the shinier the object, whereas roughness works as the whiter the map, the more thick and more smooth the object is, and less shiny, more rough, right? So many people just use the roughness, like instead of where's the roughness map? Is it here? Reflection. Reflection is what we're looking for, I think. I think what we need is, there isn't a roughness map here. Hold on. Okay, let's say, okay, yeah, because roughness is actually an input thing. So I think if that's the case, if roughness is here, we should be using this one. Either way would be good, really. So let me just confirm. Okay, roughness isn't here. So you can see roughness, right? A lot of people do they export roughness and then they invert it in Photoshop or GIMP and then use it in Second Life, which shouldn't be the case. All right, you should just use the direct inverse of roughness, which is glossiness. So the higher the glossy, the lower the roughness. They're inversely proportional. And yeah, these are the three textures that you need for Second Life. For the old texture method, we'll be looking at the PBR method with the GLTF export method later. But for now, we're just looking at the old method, which is still popular, by the way. Lots of people still use this method and haven't even gone through the whole PBR update thing. And yes, so you've set up your output template and you're going to pick it from here as well, SL tutorial. And then when you come to this, you're going to see all your texture sets or your maps, the output maps. And then you export them. You just click export. But before you do, be aware of this as well, because let's say you want to give these textures out, right? I recommend using this, then maybe you tone down the border size as you wish. All right, when you do dilation infinite, it's going to spread out all the colors to every edge of the image. But when you do dilation plus default background color, it's going to put your texture over a black background with a bit of excess around the borders. I hope that's understood. So for my case, I'm fine with dilation infinite. I'll go ahead and then I'll export. So let's go to the folder just to see what the textures look like. Hold on, which one didn't export? The map gloss can't be generated for the texture. So let's use a different setting. Hold on. Let's go back to our output template. SL tutorial is now here because it's arranged in alphabetical order. So let's use this gloss instead. And let's see if it exports. So hold on. I will re-export that and let's see. Did we still get the error? Let's check the folder. So we're going to check the folder now. Yeah, it got the gloss now. So this is what our gloss looks like. This is our normal. Sheesh, the normal is intense, but oh well. And this is the dress itself. Okay. So we've exported our textures. So you saw how we baked and then we also exported them. So now what we're left with is importing everything in Second Life. So I'm going to open up Firestorm and then I'll see you in Second Life. All right, and welcome back to Second Life. Yes, so we are at the storefront that we did our initial opening part of the tutorial in. So before I even get started, as I showed you earlier, I'm going to go to quick preferences because I want to really see my clothing well. I am going to change this one to this starly thing so that there aren't so many shadows around me, but I can really see the quality and texture of my clothing. Then to upload, I am going to come to build, upload, and then I am going to come to mesh model. All right. So I am going to select the rigged file, the file where it's rigged. So always preview this. If you don't see these options checked, your item isn't rigged, then no. There's a way to preview this with a skeleton. I can't remember. Not really. So yeah, but you can see it's rigged. You can see the leg moving forward. You can see it's like breathing a bit. I don't know. You can use Alt and move this. You can use Control and move this upward and downward. All right. So you're just going to call this what you want. I'm just going to call this SL tutorial dress. And then with the size, it's good to put the size legacy feminine. This one is feminine, but you don't need to spell it out as feminine. You could just put it as F. People will get what's going on there. Then now, what you should do is play with these numbers so that your import isn't really high. So a lot of people just go ahead and change these to 0, right? And then they'll leave the medium and the high as default, whatever the values are. But for medium, you can actually play with even the medium. Just dial down the values as you wish, experiment with them. But many people recommend using the low and the lowest as 0. I can't say that I go out of my way to recommend that, but it's definitely something that can bring down your cost, because every upload has its own unique cost depending on how much land impact it has. So let's see. If yours is good, you should get like an 11 or a 12. But if it's really high, you're getting towards like an 80. I've had like an 80 before. So let's see how this one looks. Okay, so I got an 11. So that means my upload is very fine. I upload. Then I come to my recent. And then, okay, let me first take off these things. I'm wearing the simple cubes. So YouTube. Okay, so so to try on new things, if we've gone through our Second Life basics, we understand that we're not meant to wear new things or attach them. We're going to add new things that are rigged. All right, we only attach accessories. So I'm going to add a voila. All right, so I'm now going to take off this simple cubes. I'm going to detach it from myself, as well as, okay, this is in my objects folder. This other top, I am going to detach it from myself. And this is our dress. You can see even the part we were worried about that is going to look somehow if we didn't do the back face. It's not even obvious. All right, so let's see how it looks. Let's see if we're noticing any obvious glitches. No obvious glitches, so let's walk around a bit. Let's walk around. Okay, no, I'm still on. Let's walk around. You can walk in the ocean, mind you. And if you have a good AO, okay, no, the ocean has a border for this land, but for many lands, those of you who are still stuck on Welcome Island, I'm sure you've just been spending your time swimming. You can walk into the water, and then if you have a good AO, that's a good animation override. Your avatars can even go swimming. So yeah, walk around. You can see she looks okay. The dress looks okay, thankfully. So what's just left now is the textures, okay? So for the textures, as I said earlier, there are 2 methods for textures now. So there's the PBR method, and then there's the regular method we used to use or still use. It's just that PBR has been added. So yeah, let's add the textures. How do we add the textures? We still come back to build, upload. Then we're going to use bulk. Now, if you have just one texture, use this one. But if you have several textures like we do, we're going to use this. I have it in this folder. And then I'm just going to select the 3 of them. Also, if you want to add extra colors, you can do that in Substance Painter. I'll show you quickly how we can do that. So let's just upload these. Yes, please. We're going to, each image costs 10 lindens to upload. So make sure you have enough lindens as well. Then I upload. Someone might be asking, okay, well, how do I know how to upload things without spending lindens, just for testing purpose? There's what's called a beta grade. You can look it up. Maybe I'll discuss it. But to be honest, I can't even remember how I got into the beta grade. But when you're so confident, right? Most of the time, you're not even going to need the beta grade. When you're confident in your item and how it looks, you follow tutorials well, you shouldn't need a data grid, I think. Yeah, so how do we put these guys on this guy? All right, so we're going to right click. Yeah, we're going to right click and then we're going to come to edit. Then we're going to go to features. Is it features? No, texture outright. Now this is PBR. PBR is the new one, but the one we're still using or that we're using in this video is blend funk. All right, so we have our diffuse. So this should actually be called diffuse and not base. I just called it base because it's like, oh, base. It's called base color in Blender, so that's where I got diffuse from, or base from, rather. So I'm just going to drag it here. And then you can even change the tint. So by default, it's white. But if you want the dress to have like a shade of blue or something, you can do that. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to cancel that, please. Then the normal. All right, so where you can really appreciate the normal. Let me see if I can remove this. Yeah, I want you to appreciate what the normal does. So you can see our mesh looks a bit dull, but once I put the normal on it, right, watch, you can see the detail really pops out. It looks almost like it's good to go. It's just when I add the base that things, pop out even more. So just so you don't downplay the importance of the normal or think, oh, the normal is just some step you can skip. And then the gloss, okay, if the material is rough, you don't really need a gloss. But if it's not rough, that is, it's a shiny material, you definitely need a gloss. And most times your gloss, you don't even need like an actual picture. You can do like a blank and then you can tint it along black or white. All right, but I'm going to do none here because I have a gloss that I want to use. And then so you can see gloss that most times doesn't really do much. It just makes it a bit shinier. Yeah, so glossiness, don't quote me, but glossiness, the higher the glossiness, the shinier. So if we set this to 100, you're going to see some, or let's set this to 0, let's see. Don't quote me. And then the environment is like the more reflective, I believe. So let's set this to, I can't remember the max value, but let's set this at 50. All right, then at 0, you can see some changes are going on there. So in our case, gloss didn't really do much, but in your case, it's possible. Maybe I'm making something that's latex. It's going to do something more tangible there. And we are done for the legacy body. So you're going to do the latter part of this process for the other bodies. You're not going to need to rebake, all right? Don't be worried. You're not going to rebake anything. But for the legacy body, we're done. So all what you need to do now is reshape just the mesh. For, in our case, it's the Matria, Lara X, and the E-Born. What's the E-Body Reborn. And yeah, we reshape it to fit those meshes and we are done. So let's just walk around as we say our goodbyes. Thank you for watching this video. Sincerely, I appreciate you being here. Hope the tutorials so far have been informative. If you've missed anything or you do not understand something or you feel like I skipped over a step, I hope I haven't. Just draw my attention to it in the comments. So let's do a quick recap. We've looked at the kinds of Devkits you can get. We've looked at installing Avastar. We've looked at how we can make meshes in Marvelous Designer and then how to solidify them. And then we've also baked textures, added details from high poly textures to low poly, from high poly objects to low poly objects with Substance Painter. And then we've also baked textures, made output templates in Substance Painter, and now we have imported our mesh, our rigged mesh, into Firestorm, the Firestorm viewer for Second Life. So basically, if you're a one body type of creator, first of all, applause to you. You're so confident. But if you're a one body type of creator, this is your last bus stop. For those of you who intend to create for more than one body, the next tutorial is for you. Then later on, we'll also take a look at the PBR setup. Hopefully, I don't have any issues with that. I think I've done it a few times and it's worked well. It's like it's easier. What would I relate it to? Remember when in IMVU they made IMVU Studio and your materials, right? If you had normals attached to your materials and shine maps attached to your materials, they just import directly into IMVU. So that's what I would relate that PBR thing, like a one-time import kind of thing for Second Life. All right, so let's call this one a day, and I will see you in the next tutorial.